Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today on the show I have Adam Austin, real estate investor, entrepreneur, agent, CPA, Airbnb, rental host, operator, and flipper out of Kansas City, Missouri. Adam, welcome to the show.
Hi, glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I always like to start off at the top of these shows by asking guests how they got into the real estate space.
I'm one of those guys that when you listen to Bigger Pockets, you hear about them in other podcasts. I had a house in 2007. I had just bought. My job transferred me to Mississippi. We were going to try to sell it. The real estate agent came in and said, "You're not only are you going to probably have to put $30,000 into this place, but you're also going to have put come up with money at closing too, because you owe way more on it than you're going to get out of it." So it was one of those things. I didn't have $50,000-$60,000 just lying around to fix the house and um, to sell it, so we just kept it. We rented it. Um, and moved to Mississippi, and that's kind of how the whole thing started. And then I also had a just a small condo that I bought, years and years ago for it was like $50,000. Is like just a two-bedroom, one job thing, and we rented that one too. And so I kind of just kind of fell into it through necessity.
Necessity breeds ingenuity. I think that's the saying there. So, talking about managing a rental over distance, because you were in a different city, was that challenging?
It could have been more challenging, but luckily for us, my wife's sister manages apartments, and we had a conversation with her, and we kind of, let them know up front that, hey, we're like, listen, we're going to be 13 and a half hours away. If you have problems, it's going to take a little bit. And we rented it under market, because like I said, we couldn't sell it. We ended up taking, a loss every month, just a couple $100 or so. But it was one of those necessary evil things, and we just said, hey, we're not saying we're not gonna fix them, but it's gonna take a second to get things done, and so it worked out. We had the first people we stayed in there. We loved them, and their job transferred them. Otherwise we would have kept them there for forever. And then we had a guy come in and his sister, and they stayed there for a long time too. Because yeah, we rented it for over a decade. So yeah, that way. Out while we're out
At
of
that
town.
point in
Yeah.
time, were you active as a CPA when you were managing those rentals?
I was a CPA, but I worked for a firm. I didn't work for myself at that point.
Okay. So I'm curious because when I've spoken with CPAs, there's of course a lot of overlap between real estate and sort of accounting, taxes, and this whole world. I'm still getting used to all the terminology. Were you dealing a lot with real estate back then, or not entirely, or not at all as an accountant?
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
Not very much. I didn't really start picking up the real estate knowledge side of it, the nuances with real estate professional, 1031 transfer, all that stuff, until probably uh, I was coming back to Kansas City roughly, 2014, 2015, because that's when, other things started happening, like Bigger Pockets started up in like 2014, and some other podcasters I'd listened to kind of started putting content out, and I'd listen to it about that time just to kind of educate myself because you do want to know these things when you're a real estate owner. But I did auditing work, which was completely separate a skill set than the real estate stuff was for a long time.
It's almost like when I speak to folks who are in this position that they have this skill set that they don't even realize is super transferable to the real estate profession, right? Um, and when I think about this, I think about all the ways that I've seen tax strategists, accountants be useful in the real estate space. Something that I heard the other day, which really intrigued me, was a mini cost seg, right? And so hearing these terms thrown around, talking about, real estate taxes and having to find someone who's proficient in that really piqued my interest because I think the more that homes inflate in price and the more homeowners there are, right, it's only going to make it harder for newer people to come on in. So that when you do have someone who's a first time buyer and you are trying to get into the space, you really want to be armed to the teeth with everything that you can. And I think it's great, all this information that we have out there right now.
Honestly, if you wanted to learn about it, their information is out there. It just is. There's so many podcasts like yourself and the big that just kind of talk about how to do it. You can really learn how to do it, any nuance, whether it be cost seg, going in without any money, subject to the, owner financing. It's all out there. You just have to go find it.
Now, when you were mentioning the rentals that you had, I believe you mentioned the condo and another property. You're managing them over a distance. At this point in time, you're starting to see some traction, some success in having a rental portfolio. Was this when the light bulb went off that, hey, there's something here, I should dive into this? And is that when you started exploring some of these creative deals?
I mean, I'm like everybody else that's in this business. They started watching, TV, like see the shows like, Flip or Flop and, Flipping Las Vegas and all these other shows. And you get intrigued by it. You're like, oh man, I think I could do that. But it's always, honestly, I think what keeps people from doing it, and myself as well, for as long as it was, because I obviously feel like I should have done it sooner, is time, you know, and sometimes it's money, but for me, really is time. But just with work, and my kids were a lot smaller then, and so that's kind of what keeps you from doing from that's the excuses at least we get to ourselves from really kind of just going in and actually doing it and chasing it. So.
I think about my own journey and I think about I didn't have kids or people to support, but I had a apartment and a car in San Antonio, and I was working almost around the clock in a car dealership in San Antonio. And for me to find the emotional bandwidth to get into real estate was a lot of work. It was a lot of grit that it took, and ultimately, I decided I just have to dive into this. I I did what is fairly extreme, which is I left my job to go pursue real estate. But I don't think that people necessarily have to, especially now with all the tools that are out there, AI tools, even not even necessarily for like learning, but you can use some of these tools just to figure out what to learn. Like, hey, I'm interested
Right.
in buying a house or in getting a property through creative means. What are some things that I should know? And I didn't even, when I was getting in, I'm sure AI might have been it might have been there. I just wasn't aware of it. But in 2022, when I was thinking about getting into real estate, I wasn't aware that this was out there. So all of the tools that I had were kind of the YouTube, the Google, and just through brute force networking and trying to meet people.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency, it's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
There's so much information out there, and you really have to kind of cater it to yourself because you get so many messages. Like I'm going to bring up bigger pockets again because that's obviously the biggest, the grill in the room. In there, you hear people say just gotta drop everything, and do it. Just throw yourself all in. But it's funny. I actually listened to another podcast from another people uh, just yesterday, and they're like top five. One of their top five hints of how to be successful in real estate was to not quit your job until it's cash flowing. And they both make good points. Like their point yesterday was if you quit your job and you're doing real estate, when you make money you tend to take it out, and I understand that,
Yep.
instead of like just because you need it to live on, instead of just you plugging that money back into the real estate business. So I mean, everybody makes good points. Honestly, it's just you kind of have to cater it to your situation. And I understand the people who say you just got to dive right in and do it and quit your job too, because sometimes you need to burn the ships. You need to burn the ships, and if you're going to do it, you just need to do it and get rid of that safety net. So I understand both points of view for sure.
I did it the burn the ships way, but I actually advocate for people who can to not burn the ships, um, for so many reasons. But the biggest one is that you're gonna be, unless you're successful right off the bat, which could happen, you might not get your first deal for months, right?
Right.
And you, like you said, you're gonna be dipping in, you're gonna be operating from emotional scarcity. There's so many what ifs, right? But
Hmm.
the reason why I feel like I had to, was because I just did not have the emotional bandwidth to get off of a 12-hour shift, sometimes 14-hour shift, get in there at 8 a.m., leaving at 10 p.m., right? Monday through Friday, and then one day on the weekend. And then, go to a networking event or learn about real estate. I could not do it. So I knew that this was the dream that I wanted to chase and that I was going to go do it, come hell or high water. But pivoting a bit here, Adam, you have experience in the Airbnb space, which is something that I'm passionate about as well, and have worked with investors who've done lots of Airbnbs. What specifically about Airbnb do you find attractive as a model?
Well, the income, right? Because if you do the short-term rental space, the potential for more, it's kind of a risk reward thing. The potential for more income is there. If you're doing things right, you're making sure that you're taking care of your short-term rental, you're taking care of your guests, you're marketing it right. You're paying attention, to your guest requests and all that stuff, making sure things are staying on top of it. It's a more work. than a long-term rental, but the upside is greater. And the reason we chose to do a short-term rental there is because both the stadiums, which may move, so that may change things how we do things, but are like 5 minutes away. So most people that come in are coming in for the Royals games, the Chiefs games, things of that nature. In spending the night, and then we all have heard the horror stories of Airbnb guests that kind of just trash everything, and I mean, but it's a risk reward thing. The reward of more income and more revenue is there, but so are the risks of getting a bad Airbnb, a guest that damages your property and stuff. So, um,
Let's talk about the life cycle of an Airbnb deal and also what makes a good Airbnb. Starting from, acquisitions, how do you find a deal? Are you getting it MLS? Are you getting it discounted rate off market? What kind of work goes into rehabbing it, if any? And then what makes an Airbnb successful?
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
it was a complete rehab job, and I think with complete rehab jobs like that, turning them to an Airbnb kind of works out because everything's like brand new. Everything, I mean, a complete, from the floor to the walls to the bathroom to appliances, it's all brand new. And I think when you're having people stay at your Airbnb, they kind of expect that, right? Uh, and so, as compared if you have like a house that's already kind of there, you just need to do a couple things too, which would be fine for a long-term rental, because you don't have to necessarily update everything. You would still have to tear out perfectly good appliances and floors and do things to get it up to Airbnb standards. So, um, when you do a complete renovation, I kind of think it's easier to turn it into an Airbnb than just buying something that's almost there that just needs like paint and carpet, because you probably will still have to do a lot of the same work anyway.
Are there any guidance or approach that you would take to managing an Airbnb calendar, or is that really just dependent on when people are booking?
As far as the calendar goes, you just have to make sure everything's up to date, because we do have overlap on ours a little bit because it's an upstairs and downstairs, and you can rent the whole house, right? So you have to be super careful with the calendar, that if one's gone, you have to get rid of the listing that for the whole house, because obviously someone else can't come in. And so that's a lot of work, and you have to check that like every time you rent it out, to make sure that's being done correctly. Um, in like as far as the guests go, you just have to be careful. I find myself being very selective, asking a lot of questions. What are you doing here? How many people? To get a comfortable feeling before I rent to them, because it can be bad. Guests can cause damage, and it could be not worth the fee you get from them to replace the damage. And sometimes people have stories about.
I've seen from time to time, I've seen that this sounds almost unbelievable, but I've seen it now so many times. I've seen a vacant period, meaning lots of space open, can actually lead to a very long, lucrative booking. So I'm not terribly concerned, especially if you have a good location like a Kansas City, right, near the stadium, right? If there is a large vacancy, specifically if it's a couple months out, that may be a good thing. What are your thoughts?
I would I agree with that 100%, and I would rather have it empty than be um, rented by somebody that it would take a while to uh, clean it up and miss out on other listings.
Pivoting a bit here, Adam, we talked about the Airbnb space. We've talked about your condo and the other deal that you had when you were starting out. Um, but these are different avatars of real estate investment. There's also flipping that I've seen in your bio. Do you have a preferred method that works for you?
Um, I would if 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 the deal works out, obviously I would prefer to buy, renovate, and just burn it out and keep it. But sometimes, obviously that's not possible. You get overruns, things, there's repairs that you don't see, and you have to sell it, to get your money out of it so you can do the next deal. Um,
Yeah.
but ultimately, if you had the money and in one thing, and if you had more investors, because I really don't use investors, you can keep them, and that's ultimately the goal, right? Is to keep your rentals, because what's the easiest way to get to $1 million? That old saying is to borrow $1 million, right? So if you have $1 million of real estate now, you know, 20 years from now, you'll have $2-3 million of equity probably. So,
Yep.
so if you keep
I
it
couldn't
and you
agree
keep,
anymore.
yeah. So it's funny. I had a conversation with one of my nieces, who's exactly 30 years younger than me. And I was like, I told her, I was like, yeah, if you could borrow $1 million or whatever, and um, and put it in real estate and keep it and take care of it, when you're my age, you're gonna be worth $3-5 million. And I think that with some people, that's kind of hard. That's a kind of a hard concept to understand, but I mean, it's completely true. So I think that
Yeah.
as people who understand this, we need to kind of bang that drum a little bit harder to the younger generation. So,
It's hard to proposition uh, real estate in a light of long term patience, right?
yeah.
Because people want that quick cash. But I forget where I heard this, but the fast money is the slow money. Because in actuality, when you shoot for the fast money, it ends up losing you money, right? So
Yeah.
the actual way to make fast money is to do it the slow way. And I think with a lot of things, like for instance, consumer debt, right? You could of course rack up a bunch of credit card debt and get things that you think might benefit you, but then you got to pay the bill. The thing
Right.
that makes real estate so unique is that you can effectively not be responsible yourself for covering that premium expense because you have a renter in there, right? And then you talk about burring out of it, right? And so you're able to utilize debt in a very, very unique way. I haven't actually talked about this too much on the show, which you would think I would have, but it's definitely something that I should dive into more because most people outside of the real estate space aren't aware of how they can leverage debt to enrich them in real estate.
I couldn't agree with that more. I think that one of the failures that to understand, especially for those outside of real estate, even those that do flipping, that don't keep, because how many podcasts do you listen to where they're flippers and they flip 200, you know, houses, 300, thousands of houses, and one of their biggest regrets is, I wish I would have kept more because they didn't keep them.
Didn't keep it.
And the
Yeah.
concept that is complicated to understand, but once you understand it, it just makes everything make more sense. And I didn't come up with this. I've obviously heard this in other places, but the value, you have $1,000 house payment today, that $1,000 in 20 years is going to be like, that's going to be your cell phone bill, right? But it's going to be, for a house. So not only is the power of the dollar going down, so your buying power goes up. On the other side of it, your your real estate appreciates. So you're winning on both sides of it. You're winning in the fact that your $100,000 house in 20 years is going to be worth 250, more than likely, at least. So you're winning there with appreciation. And then the $1,000 house payment you're making is is not going to be the buying. I mean, the things that you could buy with $1,000 20 years from now is going to be way less than $1,000
Yep.
now. Because I remember when my first car payment was like $100. Now getting for people getting a car payment that's over $500 is not out of the realm of possibilities. And so that that's my point, is like the $1,000 you pay for your house payment. Yes, there's taxes, and yes, there's insurance, so that part will go up. But for the most part, your housing payment, the buying power of every dollar that's part of your house payment is going down. So once they really understand the fact that you're winning twice, once through appreciation and then once through the buying power of going down of your dollar over time, I mean, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. So
Absolutely. I think having been in the automotive space as a salesperson before I got into real estate, the biggest thing that I would see when it came to payment was people had their expectations for payment based on pricing from like 4 to 5 years ago when they got their last vehicle in many cases. And the pricing for payments had like almost doubled, if not tripled in many cases. Like people are shocked when they find out that they couldn't get a $200 payment when the average car payment is well above $500 in the United States, plus insurance, plus gas. Like you're spending darn near $1,000 really on the low end right now to own a vehicle in the United States if you're a younger person driving at any distance, right? But we are coming up on time here, Adam. Where can folks go to get a hold of you?
you can go to Adam Austin CPA. That's probably, you can go to my website and you can send me a message. It's just Adam Austin CPA. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me, is through my website, and you can contact me through I use Calendly through my website, so you can just contact me through there. You could also just email me at adamaustinCPA@gmail.com too. So
Adam, thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
thank you for having me. I've enjoyed myself. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.